So this is just something that I feel like needs to be talked about, right? So this is the truth behind what is seen as the hypocrisy behind promiscuity between men and women. There is no hypocrisy there, right? It's not a double standard. Now, it seems like a double standard, but it's not. I'm going to explain why. See, the reason why is that men are seen as lacking inherent sexual value, right? Men are seen in one or two categories. Either men lack inherent sexual value or men excel in sexual power. These are the two things that need to be understood. Women are generally seen as possessing inherent sexual value because they have a womb, but also seen as sexually neutral, as in most women do not possess the power to affect a man's emotion by the quality of her sex, only through the ability to have access to it. So if a woman gives a man access to her sexually, what that usually does is that is the power that she has. A man's access to him sexually usually isn't power for him with most women unless he's already displayed that power with that woman sexually. This is something that needs to be understood. See, the male equivalent of what a man sees when he sees a woman as promiscuous is primarily two different things. And then I'm going to explain the other side as well. So there are two, well, really there's three, but I'm going to say there's two. The two primary equivalencies of what a man sees when he calls a woman a hoe is a man who is a woman's platonic friend who desires to have sex with her, who's attempting to use his non-sexual access in order to get close enough to have sex with her, but he's doing it unsuccessfully, and then also a man who is bisexual, right? And I'm going to explain why on both sides. You know, what I like to talk about and what I like to break things down on is a basis of what I call analogies, right? It's reciprocal analogies, not direct analogies, but reciprocal analogies based off of how things are valued and seen and assessed by the parties that are involved. So when a man sees a woman who is promiscuous and then he imagines himself being in a relationship with her, he thinks about hearing stories that will make him feel insecure. He thinks about her having experiences that will make him seem like he's less sexually valuable and has less sexual prowess. He's worried about the prospect of her having an increased rate of exposure, of chances of being exposed to sexually transmitted disease. Also is worried about her, having, there's a higher possibility of her having children, and also a higher possibility of her being open to sleeping with someone who will, while they're dealing with each other, which will make her susceptible to being pregnant by someone else's children, because she doesn't keep her sexual access honed in only to who she is emotionally being involved with. So you can look at a woman's promiscuity from a few different perspectives. One of those perspectives could be, a man could say, okay, either she is being promiscuous because she has a high sex drive, which is falsely viewed as something that is a masculine trait. So a man will see her as, okay, she has a high sex drive, so she's not seen as feminine. I would disagree with that. Another reason why is because she is trying to use that sex in order to gain access to those men emotionally, but she's doing it unsuccessfully. Or trying to get access to a man, success financially, emotionally, some type of non-sexual access. She's trying to trade her sexuality to get that, which is where hoe would come from, right? Because you're prostituting yourself out for something, but you're doing it to no avail, which indicates low value, right? And then, so those are two of the primary reasons that, a woman would be promiscuous, right? So when you're looking at it from this perspective, the equivalent of a promiscuous man to a woman, right, would be a man who is her platonic friend. Why? Because he's trying to use non-sexual access to get sexual access. So he's prostituting himself out emotionally in order to try to get access to her sexually. And then there's the men who are bisexual. Why? Because just like I talked about that visceral feeling of disgust, a woman has that feeling of disgust when she imagines a man who's had sex with another man wanting to have sex with her, because there are experiences that he may have had that she can't keep up with, or that she wouldn't be able to do, or doesn't have the equipment or the willingness to do, and that would cause her to feel inadequate, and then she would project that inadequacy into saying that the man makes her feel disgusted, right? It's just a feeling of inadequacy. It's just insecurity. There's the increased rate of sexually transmitted diseases that belong to MSM, which is men who have sex with men, that community. I'm not biphobic by any means, or homophobic or any of that, but I will say that, it's just a scientific proof that they have higher rates of sexually transmitted diseases than straight men. And then you also have there's the chances of stories coming back behind that will make them feel insecure, that will make them feel embarrassed and shamed publicly. All right, so I'm going to explain what the male equivalent is of a woman who, or what a woman equivalent is of a man who is promiscuous. That's a woman who has a lot of platonic friends. Why? Because she can have a lot of platonic friends because she is just a joy to be around. She is skilled at people valuing her non-sexual access, right? Or she is fighting below her weight class, getting a bunch of dudes or getting guys who are not close enough to her range to be okay. Close enough to her range to think they have a chance, so they're cool with just being her friend. Or she's manipulating those men, right? So we'll look at it this way, right? Manipulating them with the prospect that they may get sexual access. So if you're looking at it from the same perspective, this is how a man who is promiscuous is the equivalent of a woman with a lot of male friends. Why? Because listen, a man who is promiscuous either is a very skilled lover and skilled at the art of seduction, which means that he can have high quality women around him who want to deal with him. That creates too much competition. Just like a woman who has too many men around her may feel like it's too much competition for a man who doesn't care to put any work in, right? Likewise, there's also a situation where a man could be lying to those women, making them think that they'll have access to him non-sexually if they give him sexual access, right? Which is equivalent to a woman doing that with men. And then you also have a man who just has no standards, right? Which would be a woman who has no standards about, she would just take advantage of men who are below her weight class, and this man would do the same thing. So when you look at it from that perspective, that's what the equivalent is. See, the issue here is not a matter of not a matter of whether a man or a woman is having sex with all these different people. It's a matter of who you're having sex with. In most instances, a man is not judged for being with women, and a woman is not judged for being with women unless it's a conservative person doing the judging, right? Unless it's a conservative person, you're not going to judge a man or a woman for how many women they sleep with, right? Likewise, at a party, you see it. Nobody's going to blink an eye. If you see a woman sleeping with a woman, see a woman making out with a woman, kissing a girl, everybody's going to stop and stand in awe and just look at it and be in amazement of it, right? Likewise, whether a man or a woman has a history of sleeping with a lot of men, it's still going to be something that makes the other party feel insecure. Why? Because of one or two reasons. It's the view of the inherent sexual value of men. So either a man lacks inherent sexual value or he excels in sexual power. So if a man lacks in sexual value, then to the person who is sleeping with those men, then someone will see that as this person doesn't value themselves enough to withhold access to themselves sexually from these men who lack inherent sexual value. But on the other side, someone may feel like this individual has been exposed to the sexual power of a dominant man. And there's something that I've noticed, like for both men and women, once someone's had a certain amount of exposure to the power of penis, to the sexual prowess of a man, it causes them to act and behave more feminine, right? But that doesn't extend to every person. So like, let's say as a man, the way you like to go through life, or the way men are taught to go through life, is that a man is trading his non-sexual access to a woman for sexual access so that he can try to ensure, so that he can get a woman who is attractive, and through his financial means, through his emotional investment, through his hard working and his consistency, right? But these aren't things that turn a woman on sexually. So he will do these things because he wants to have sexual access to a woman, and then also to prove that he is someone who could take care of her financially so that she'll want to bear his children. But just because she's your wife and she wants to bear your children doesn't mean that she is going to be the one that she wants to sleep with when she is ovulating, which is the time where she has the highest level of sexual attraction to masculine sexual dominance, where she will desire the largest penis and the most masculine features she will throughout the month. And also when she has the highest chance of getting pregnant. And that's why men care about their sexual prowess. Subconsciously, people say it's just a matter of insecurity, but really it's a matter of saying, not only do I want to have a woman I can have consistent access to, but I also want a woman who, when she's ovulating, she's going to choose me. So when you look at it from that perspective, there are men who still want to maintain that mindset of trading their non-sexual access for sexual access with women, Not understanding that in this day and age, that only works with a woman who has a minimal amount of experience or with a woman who has an astronomical amount of experience. Most women are going to be somewhere in the middle. That's where most women are. Likewise, the same thing can somewhat be said about men on the other side. Like a man who, no, I'm going to skip that part. I'm going to skip that part. That's going to be on another video. But just the point is that it is not a double standard that women get judged differently for their promiscuity. If that promiscuity was mostly with women, then a man most of the time is not going to judge that woman unless he is extra conservative, making him even more insecure about her sexual experiences. So it's not a double standard. These are things that need to be understood. They need to be understood. These are socio-sexual dynamics and reciprocal analogies with Brody Darman.